now we get to the biggest jump that Smash Brothers has made this game with Brawl. When I talked about, before I get into talking about these next two characters, I want to go and talk back on what I said previous games. When it came to the original Smash Brothers, that game was mainly about the most iconic, big-time, well-known Nintendo characters outside of NES, but even then, NES was still relatively known alongside Captain Falcon and Link and all that. It was basically the most well-known Nintendo characters. When it came to Melee is when they started expanding the roster. Like I said in my Melee overview of the roster, they expanded it not only in size, but who was included in it. They started adding more female characters because originally it was only Samus. They actually started adding villain reps, which is the reason why we got Ganondorf and Bowser and Mewtwo and all that stuff. And they started, like, overall adding lesser known characters from lesser known franchises. The reason why, and also they started adding retro characters. They added Game & Watch, they added Marth, they added Ice Climbers. But like I said, they were adding lesser known characters. It was not about iconic characters anymore. It was about overall Nintendo, the known and the unknown. The lesser known characters and the most known, most popular characters. They added, the Fire Emblem characters, which at that point was super popular in Japan, but no one outside of Japan knew who in the world those characters were, unless they imported. The smaller known characters, and even the lesser known characters of certain franchises. Like, Dr. Mario was a popular series, but he's still a slightly lesser known than just Mario by himself. Pichu was like a popular Pokemon, but still a lesser known one. They started choosing lesser known characters, and they chose Fox. They started choosing side characters. They started choosing the villain representation. They started choosing characters outside the most popular main character things. With Melee, like I said, they include more female characters. They include villain reps. They included the lesser known characters. They started including retro characters, and guess what? Those four things they included and kept in this game for Brawl. But there was a fifth inclusion too, a fifth expansion to the roster. When it came to Brawl, they had the female reps. I don't think they really technically added many new female characters to this game. I don't think there was necessarily one of the new characters were female. Yeah, none of the new characters were female in this game. But it started with Melee, and it's still there for them to use for the new female reps. This game included more villains. They expanded on the villains with Meta Knight, DDD, Wolf, Wario technically still is one, and stuff like that. They include the lesser known characters like Ike, who was recent but still not as known. He was still by the majority not known. And region exclusive characters they started in that game too, which at this point has only been Japan, but it's not like that's going to be the only reason. They start with Marth and Roy, Japanese exclusive. The series moved out here. For Brawl, they include Lucas, Japanese exclusive. With Melee, which was the biggest jump in the Smash Bros. Series, they expanded on the roster, not just in size, but in terms of, like I said, who was included. More female reps, villain reps, retro reps, lesser known reps, region exclusive reps. And all of those were expanded on, besides technically the female rep, all of those were expanded on in Brawl. There was a Japanese exclusive character, there were lesser known characters, there was more villain characters, and stuff like that. And the size, of course, got bigger. The roster size got bigger. But the thing that they expanded on the most in Brawl was the fact that it included two non-Nintendo characters. The first one we'll talk about is Solid Snake, or technically Snake, because the game only represents him as Snake. And I think it is just technically Snake, for that version of him. But with Brawl, besides just expanding on actual Nintendo characters, using lesser known Nintendo characters and female reps and like the side characters and retro characters and region exclusive characters, they actually added characters that were not Nintendo based at all. Snake being like the original third-party character that was talked about in the game, because he was like in the original trailer, or one of the original trailers, like with the box and everything, like hiding out of the box and coming out to attack the Nintendo characters. He was the first non-Nintendo character included in the series, mentioned to even be in the series, like when the game first started development, like in 2006. And the reason why he was included, there was for both third-party characters, they had recent enough games to be included. Reason why: first, Snake, Metal Gear Solid: Twin Snakes on the GameCube. The first game in the series, a popular remake of it that was released on the GameCube, and people by Silicon Knights, and a lot of gamers, especially Nintendo, actually loved that because that was like since like the NES with the Metal Gear game. It was like the first Metal Gear Solid game included on a Nintendo console in a long time. Now he has some Nintendo history, but it's like 2 games. Up until Brawl, it was only 2 games: Metal Gear on the NES and Twin Snakes on the GameCube. He had hardly any history at all, but he did still have history. Another reason why he was included, though, was because Hideo Kojima actually begged for him to be in Melee. It was too late in development. Sakurai couldn't do it, so they moved him over to Brawl, which I don't know really why. He was technically one of the third-party characters included. I love Snake and Brawl, but in terms of representation for third parties, he doesn't have much history with Nintendo, but he still does technically have history. And he was included because the recent game at the time, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater on the GameCube, he has some history with Nintendo, not a whole lot, but some. And because Kojima begged, like he was the first third-party character included in the game, so he was still recent enough. He was there to represent third parties, and he had a recent game on the generation they pulled from. And the last character I'm going to be talking about, the last character that I have yet to talk about, is Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, this is a third-party character that has so much history with Nintendo, even when he did not show up on a Nintendo console. He has a ton of history with Nintendo, and he was the third-party character included in Brawl. Now, he is recent enough. Before I go on to the big reasons why he was there, he was still recent enough. He had games on the GameCube. He had games on the Game Boy Advance. He had games on the DS, like the early DS lineup until that time. Sonic Adventures, the DX Director's Cut, Sonic Adventures 2, the Gems Collection on the GameCube, the Mega Collection on the GameCube, including all those older games that at that point were not even on Nintendo systems yet, because that's when Sega actually went to become third party instead. Stopped making consoles. You know, Sonic Ride and all that stuff, Air Ride and whatnot. You know, that kind of stuff. And he has history with and that he has the recent ability for them to pull him in there, because even for third-party characters, you have to be recent in order to be included. You can't just be old school. Now, I think they could do technically a retro third-party representation, but at this point in time, there have been no characters like that, so I'm not going to even talk about that because that hasn't even been done yet. But for third parties, you still have to be recent enough. You have to have history with Nintendo, but you have to be recent enough to still be included. Sonic had that, like I said, all those games. But he has the history with Nintendo as well. He was, in the 90s, Mario's rival. Sega's representation that was supposed to compete with Mario. He had the Sega and Nintendo feud in the late 80s, going into all the 90s before Sega eventually had to go bankrupt and then go become third party. It was always like Mario and Sonic. And sometimes Sonic was able to get ahead, more so earlier on. Then eventually just Mario took it and ran with it. But there still was a rivalry there. He was a fan favorite character. Like, he's the most popular Sega character. He's their mascot. And he was, I think, voted for to be in the game to begin with. He had a ton of reasons for why he should have been included in the game. Mario's rival. History against Nintendo being Mario's rival, the competitor. He has been on the recent games for GameCube, Game Boy Advance, and DS. He is a fan favorite, Sega's mascot, and he was voted for. He was the third-party character in Brawl. Snake got there because Kojima begged on his knees to ask for him to be in the game. Snake's a cool character, but he did not have as much history with Nintendo as Sonic does. And just like, but he was recent enough. Snake did have a recent game, reason why he was included. Same thing with Sonic. But Sonic has more reasons besides just being recent. And his character did not his creator did not have to beg Sakurai. That I know of. Could have happened, sure, I don't know. But I don't know all that stuff. I don't look at all that back stuff, pretty much. That's that. That is the last character that was included in Brawl, and my thoughts on why he was included. And the reason why he was included.